Hello people, welcome back to another video. So for this video, I was thinking of making a game where you are a pedestrian crossing the road, avoiding a bunch of cars driving by and whatnot. Kinda like Crossy Road, but it'd be in first person. So I started with a cube for the player. I added some movement and a ground. There's a large block that's supposed to be a building. For now I'm just using it to see that I'm actually moving around, though the shadows are kinda wonky looking. I was thinking of having the player just rotate to the left and right to check for cars, but it feels too limiting, so I just stuck with rotating the camera all the way around like a normal first-person controller. I made a quick crosswalk PNG in Piscal for the player to actually walk across. Oops. Whenever the player walks ahead, another crosswalk gets created. The ground also gets created as well. There's like a short little rest section every so often, between every couple of crosswalks. Next, objects that get too far away from the player get disabled, so that performance stays high. I added buildings to the background so it looks a little better. I mean buildings as in cubes, but you know. They also spawn in as the player walks further away from the starting point. I then made a model for the player to walk around with. Now you might be thinking, Mushao, you just make the same kind of character model every single time. But nah, this time he's got soles on his shoes. I added him to Unity and got some animations from Mixamo. And it actually doesn't look too bad inside of Unity. I got the animations to work and the player walks properly now. I spent a long time making some car and truck models. Then I added them to the game. They definitely work. Now to generate the cars, I simply attached the script that I wrote to each crosswalk section, and it should work. I hate to flatter myself, but it looks pretty decent so far. I'm thinking once the player gets to the later parts, where the cars get much faster, it'll be fine if the cars start crashing at that point. It's a feature, not a bug. Before adding more cars, I want to add a jump and sprint option to the player so that it isn't so boring with just slowly walking forward. This shouldn't be so bad to implement, as I just copied the movement code from my previous video.
3 hours later.
It just wasn't working for some reason, but now it's done. I can sprint now with a little stamina bar. Next, I finished adding all the other types of vehicles that can be spawned in. It seems that some of the cars were colliding with the buildings, which causes some of the flying cars. Even if a car is rotated slightly off, it'll cause a crash later, which will cause a chain reaction of even more crashes. When a car finishes driving to one side, it is teleported back to the beginning, instead of deleting the car and creating a new car, since that isn't good for performance. Now this causes a problem where if the car is fast enough and goes to the other side and then gets teleported back to the beginning while the car generator is still spawning in new cars, then they will end up colliding. Now all of these cars and collisions driving around could be avoided if I just freeze the rotations of all the cars, which will solve everything. But I also kinda like the chaos of all the cars being flipped around. So I added a chance of the car spawning without the frozen rotations, so that car is susceptible to rotating and crashing, and this probability will increase the further the player gets. So at the start, it's still normal cars. Then I added collisions, because right now the vehicles just do nothing to the player when they collide. I want the player to ragdoll, but that'll probably be in another video. It heads to the menu screen when the player gets hit and dies. and I added a score that increases as the player walks further. And that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.